Welcome to part 3 of this video. We are doing the making of a scientist. I am Reena Sharma, TGT English KV3 Patiala. Let's now start the question answer of this lesson. There are not many questions but only few questions but important one. First we come to page 38. Think about it. The first question is, how can one become a scientist, an economist, a historian? Does it simply involve reading many books on the subject? Does it involve observing, thinking, and doing experiments? The answer is, the lesson, The Making of a Scientist, describes in detail the essential ingredients that are necessary in the making of a scientist. We need many more things than observing, thinking, and doing experiments. The first thing is the scientific attitude and temperament. To be competitive and to be best is another ingredient. A first-rate mind and scientific curiosity are the two other necessary traits. The will to win for the right reason is another trait. The making of an economist and a historian may demand some other virtues. However, the basic ingredients are not much different. We have done this in detail in the last part of the lesson. That what are the ingredients? Ingredients of a scientist are the same as ingredients of a successful person. A curious mind is the first thing. One should have willingness to learn and a scientific aptitude and a mind which is receiving all the necessary details about things we need to do. A mind which always keeps on thinking, what is the goal of my life? Such a mindset can become anything, a scientist, an economist, a historian, or any other successful businessman. Next question. You must have read about cells and DNA in your science books. Discuss Richard Ebright's work in the light of what you have studied. If you get an opportunity to work like Richard Ebright on projects and experiments, which field would you like to work on and why? Answer is, naturally, we have read about cells and DNA in our science books. Strictly speaking, such subjects are dealt with in detail in biology. DNA is the blueprint of life and controls heredity. Richard Ebright did a wonderful thing on cells and DNA. He was able to identify the hormone's chemical structure. He discovered that the cell can read the blueprint of its DNA. DNA is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. DNA determines the form and function of the cell. DNA, as you know, is deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is something which contains genes. Inside genes, there are some traits of your parents and of your family members which come to you from those DNAs. Thus, DNA is the blueprint of your life. Children, next is talk about it. I think you must find answers to these questions yourself so as to whet your skills to become more scientific. I want to discuss with you few questions which might be of some help during examinations. Come to page number 32. There are two questions given. Read and find out. First, How did a book become a turning point in Richard Ebright's life? The book The Travels of Monarch X became a turning point in Richard Ebright's life. Without that book, Richard Ebright would have ended his butterfly collecting habit. His mother gifted this children's book to her son. This book described how monarch butterflies migrated to Central America. This book opened the world of science to the eager young collector. Next, how did his mother help him? Richard was in third grade when his father died. Richard was his mother's whole life and the only companion. His mother encouraged his interest in learning. She took him on trips. She bought him telescopes, microscopes, cameras, mounting materials, and other equipments. She helped and encouraged him in many other ways. Page 34. What lesson does Ebright learn when he does not win anything at a science fair? Richard Ebright was in 7th grade when he got a hint of what real science was. He entered the county science fair. He didn't win any prize and lost. While everybody else had won something, Richard got nothing. He felt really sad. His entry was slides of frog tissues. He showed it under a microscope. He realized that winners had tried to do real experiments, not make a pure display or show. Number 2. What experiments and projects does he then undertake? Dr. Urhart gave Richard Ebright many suggestions for experiments. For his 8th grade project, Ebright tried to find the cause of a viral disease that killed nearly all monarch caterpillars every few years. The next year, his science fair project was testing the theory that viceroy butterflies copy monarch butterflies. In his second year in high school, his research led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Next, what are the qualities that go into the making of a scientist? There are many qualities that go into the making of a good scientist. First of all, he has to have a scientific temperament. Richard Ebright became a great scientist because he was competitive and received ideas and suggestions from everywhere. He had a first-rate mind and was second in his class of 1510 in Harvard. He had curiosity to know the why and how of things. Finally, he had the will to win. So these were a few extra questions from the text. Hope you enjoyed learning with me. This is Reena Sharma signing off. All the best to all the children. Thank you.